Up front, Brian Pugh is your leader. Sean Fountain giving chase. Trouble in 3. Farnsworth turned around in front of the field. Everybody avoids the spun 75. No caution. Now the caution comes out. It took us almost half the race to find it, but we have a caution flag. And on the restart, it will be Brian Pugh, Sean Fountain setting the field, Robbie. Got a little wilder in a couple of spots, didn't it?
Doesn't take long for cars to be lapped. Doesn't take long for cars to go 4 wide. Boy, this division is
4 wide. They came out of 4 for the start. They were 4 wide.
All kinds of things going on all over the place, and we need about 25 cameras to cover this action. Actually, we need a camera inside of every car in order to cover all the action in the street.
Wouldn't that be something?
Fortunately, we just don't have the funds or technology to pull that one off.
We also don't have the opportunity to ruin that many cameras.
6 laps completed, and when we come back, we'll have more of the street stock feature.
With 4 to go, Rick Freye has definitely pulled away now from Brian Pugh. It looks like he is en route to perhaps a feature victory. He has not won yet this year, although he does happen to sit second in points behind Dan Gibbs by 6. Freye in a bit of traffic now, working underneath one car, splitting to the outside now to pass the 16 of Brian Chris. Brian Pugh having to handle the same traffic, not able to do so quite as easily as Brian caught him in the turn, whereas Freye had the advantage of passing him in the stretch. 2 to go, your top 5 at the 2 to go sign. Freye, Pugh, Fountain, Dane Gibbs, and Joe Becker. 71 and Tony Broussard haven't given him a call. This is the way he wanted it. He's leaving a bit early. Trouble on the 71 machine. Freye found the lead, took the lead, and is quickly established and pulled away as the leader. 1 to go for Freye. Brian Pugh is not going to catch him, so Freye will have to make a mistake if he's going to lose this one. Trouble in 4. The leader is going to come up on it, but everyone squares it away. He's got a clean racetrack as he comes storming out of 4th to the stripe. First victory of the year for the 77 Rick Freye. Second place to Brian Pugh, who has to settle for the runner-up spot. Third place is Sean Fountain's number 91. 4th, the points leader coming in, Dan Gibbs. And 5th will go to the 23 of Joe Becker. Those are your top 5. And Rob, once Freye got to the lead, it simply was his race to lose. He did not lose it. He's got his first win of the year.
Convincing victory for Rick Freye. Took the lead around lap 6, and from there on out he was able to hold off the rest of the field, actually running away from the rest of the field, and that will bring to a close the racing action from Airborne. Steve, let's recap the evening for the folks at home. The Flying Tiger feature first to hit the speedway, and boy, the Flying Tiger feature, or the Flying Tiger division rather, is becoming extremely competitive, as well as often controversial. And this week, an outstanding feature event for the Flying Tigers.
They truly put on the show again, picking up another feature victory, and he's probably got more in store for us in 94. The 77 of Eric Williams, great second place run to rookie Danny Benoit. He takes second almost.
Sometimes it is listed, and it will be listed when it does not air on its usual Thursday night. When the show does not run, you should address your inquiries to Falcon Cable as to why the tape did not run at the time listed. Again, we get the tapes down there, but sometimes it's a case where we do not control whether or not if the tapes hit the air. And Friday night was a case where the tape did not run, and a lot of people were upset by that.
Yeah, the tape was there, I assure you, fans. It was just a situation where we supply the tape. It just didn't get over the airwaves so all of you could see it. But if it happens again, give Falcon a call. We'll get everything straightened out, hopefully.
Well, we certainly do like to work with the people at Falcon Cable, and we know that a lot of you are watching and really enjoy the show. And after all, this is a show for the drivers and the fans of the North Country, and we want you to be able to see MotorSports Magazine. So hopefully we'll get those gremlins straightened out, and we'll work together with the people at Falcon Cable. As the late models take to the track, we'll have to speak a little bit louder. Finally, how was your predictions last week? How'd they go?
Well, unfortunately, the fans didn't see the show, and they would have seen that Saturday night prior to the two big races on Memorial Day weekend. We made predictions. We're not going to talk about Indy because the guys we picked did not have a good outing at all. We'll tell them. I thought Raul Boisel would finally get his first win. He's always strong at Indy. You saw the ratio that mechanical problem played him. This guy here, he had a great pick. He picked Nigel Mansell. Nigel had a good run going until he became the bottom of a piggyback rider of Dennis Vitello, which took him out of the race, and Nigel was not very happy about that, Rob.
Somebody's got to tell Dennis Vitello that you don't go into the pits doing 395 miles an hour.
Absolutely. He says he hit oil, but still, even if he hit oil, he was going a little too fast anyway. A caution came out from one incident. During the caution, we had one car go in the wall. Paul Tracy following mechanical problems, and Vitello and Mansell come joined together. And actually, Mansell got a hot seat out of that, and some fluids ended up dripping on him.
And the other race which we predicted, again, neither one of us came through, so hopefully no one followed our advice. Well, actually, no one could have anyways, so it really didn't mean a whole lot. And how do we do on that one?
But it's a shame fans didn't see, because for a change, we agreed. We both figured Ernie Irvin had it in the bag. Irvin finished fifth, but I'll tell you what, he was not much of a contender for most of the race. He led a little, but he was not staying with the leader. It was Rusty Wallace's race, no doubt about it. And, you know, he made a pit stop, 4 tires, seemed logical. Jeff Gordon made a pit stop, 2 tires, put him in the lead, and we figured Rusty to catch him. The other guys made pit stops, and Rob, they put on 4 tires. Can you explain why anyone would put on 4 tires after Jeff put on 2?
Well, Jeff Gordon is pretty happy with his pit strategy, as a good pit stop won the race for Jeff Gordon. There's no question about it. Steve, why don't we let the fans know what's on tap tonight for MotorSports Magazine? We're heading to the pits, where we will conduct an interview with one of the top drivers here at Airborne, and we'll have action from the late model sportsmen, the Flying Tigers, and the Street Stocks, shaping up to be a very interesting evening here at Airborne.
Oh, absolutely. You know, it's getting to a point where people say, well, who's going to win? You can't pick a winner in any of the divisions. You know, with the Street Stocks, Brainiac seems like an even money choice, but when the Tigers, I can give you 4 or 5 guys who deserve to win, and with 100 laps for the late models, okay, 2 guys come to mind. If I had to make a pick, I'll tell you, I'd give you 3 guys, and I think one of them would win. Buck O'Brien, who dominates 100-lap events. Former dirt track modified driver Jean-Paul Cyr, who was pretty good at these 100-lappers. And I'm not going to forget Bieber running that number 6 car. He knows his way around the track. Maybe he'll pick up the win.
Well, I'm not going to make predictions because usually they never come true. And when Steve makes predictions, well, he usually jinxes the driver, and they usually end up running into the wall or heading into the pits early, as happened last week, as a matter of fact.
We don't want to talk about last week. I made a mistake, okay? But hey, wait a minute. I'm going to gloat a little bit here. See, what you didn't see is I made a long shot prediction for the Coca-Cola 600. And, you know, he almost won the race, Rob.
All right, it was a real long shot, but it didn't win. Anyways, here's what's coming up on the program. Again, an interview and highlights from the late model sportsmen, the Flying Tigers, and the Street Stocks. Pull up a favorite chair and enjoy the great local racing action from Airborne. MotorSports Magazine, Steve Hayes and Rob Knowles. Action's coming up next.
My guest right now at MotorSports Magazine is, going into tonight, the points leader in the late model sportsman division. He's hoping to stay there for a long time. The driver that number 76 LMS automobile, Steve Rennedet. Welcome to the show again, Steve.
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad to be here again.
Well, okay, you are the points leader, and I talked to him before we started the interview. He said, but it's early. But really, would you rather be first right now, or maybe second or third and have to work your way, give yourself some incentive to catch somebody?
Oh, no, we'll take the first and be glad to be here, and hopefully we can maintain it throughout the year. But, you know, it's early, and we're not going to count the chickens before the hatch, but we're very pleased to be in first place.
Yeah, it's really your second year in this division after doing about all anyone could possibly do in the old Flying Tiger division. You had a pretty good first year, though. It's a rookie candidate. You had some real impressive runs out there. You just picked up where you left off. You think he'd be this strong out of the box?
Well, I was hoping that we would be, you know, and it takes a while to learn what to do, because even though you move from Tigers to the late models, there is a lot of changes for you to do. And I think we've made those changes. We've found out what to do, and hopefully we can maintain our first place here up through.
Well, one guy who was really hoping to go after all those regional series races, and financially he's still hoping to do it, but got out to a real rough start here at Airborne. You lost the engine when the regional came about here, and that really hurt you.
Yes, it did hurt, and that kind of crippled us for the regionals, but we're going to still plug away at them and see what we can come up with before the end of the year is over.
Yeah, with 2,000 to win, it'd be a nice little chunk of change if he picks up the win, as well as maybe one of the spots in one of those Oxford qualifiers. That'd really be a nice surprise.
Oh, that'd be a grand treat if we could pick up something like that. But, you know, we'll keep on trying, and we're looking forward to going to Thunder Road next and see what we can do down there.
Yeah, let's talk about Thunder Road. Everyone's been talking about the new asphalt. It's a situation where they laid out some new asphalt there, and speeds picked up a little bit. And now everyone expected that would happen, but as a competitor, is it something you really takes you a while to adjust to, or can you just basically get out the first time and say, yep, this is the way it's going to be, I can handle it?
I think it's going to be basically the first time you get out there, you can handle the extra speed because you're going to feel the extra traction underneath you. So I think that with the new asphalt, it's probably going to give some of the cars better stability because it'll help forgive some of the things that aren't quite right on them. So I think that it's going to be better. I think it's going to be good.
Well, one advantage of these regional series is they get a few ACT guys cross over and run against them. Like tonight, for instance, Beaver Dragon hoping to run the Rodney Weed number 6. Now, you've seen these guys. I mean, for years, now you get a chance to run against them. It must be a good idea knowing, hey, I'm out there with Beaver or Derek Lynch or whoever. Is it intimidating at all? You just say, it's another competitor. I'm just going to get past them like I do everyone else.
Well, no, I feel as though it's not intimidating at all. In fact, I think it's kind of fun because, you know, when you do beat them or if you happen to run with them, you feel like, you know, you're as good as they are. And, you know, we all make mistakes, and you just try and capitalize on his the same as you do the rest.
When you're out there, do you follow one of these ACT guys and say, they've been driving this track for a while? Do you try to pick up pointers saying, hey, look at the way they're driving this line. Maybe I ought to try that.
Well, no, because they're not used to driving our late models, so I kind of drive the same line that I always do. And hopefully they'll be trying to drive like their at car, and we'll catch them off guard.
Well, let's talk about the weather because it is hot, and I mean real hot. One of the hottest days we've had here. Now, by the time the 100-lapper rolls around, sun will be down. Hopefully, it'll be much cooler. But not only is the drivers it really tough for you in the car, but the engines don't like this heat too much, do they?
No, they don't, because it'll start heating them up and you run higher temperatures than normal, and that's where you start to get some of these motors blowing. Hopefully before this 100-lapper starts, it'll cool down and temperature will be down and everyone will have a good run tonight.
Well, let's say it's still pretty warm when they drop the green on the 100-lapper. Anything you could do as a driver to try to stay cool, maybe stay back, not right on someone's bumper, or do you just hope for the best?
Just hope for the best and hope not to have too many cautions.
Well, I want to thank you for joining me. I know late models practice is going to be going on in a couple of minutes. I want to let him have a chance to go look at his car a little bit. They were working on it, fine-tuning it. Nothing serious, I hope, for tonight.
Oh, no, just getting everything adjusted so we'll be at our best before it starts.
Just fine-tuning it for 100 laps, huh?
Correct.
Real quick, how about tire situation? I know when they ran the regionals, some of the guys said, boy, those tires just did not last like I thought they would. Is that something you think will be a problem tonight?
I don't think so, because Airborne is very forgiving on tires. It's very easy over here. The smaller tracks seem to be much harder on them. But we're still running the same tires we ran the regional race with, and ours seem to be holding up quite well.
All right, I want to thank you for joining me. The driver, number 76, late model sportsman, our points leader going in tonight. So keep a real close eye for the rest of the season on him. Wins, nothing new to this guy. Maybe a track championship. Who knows? We'll know in a couple of months. Thanks for joining me, Steve.
Thank you very much.
Third and final qualifier for the Flying Tigers here on June 4th. The 10 cars set to take the green. Front row, the 51 of Mark Eddy, the 57 of Bob Woods. In row 2, the 1 of Jimmy Young, the 74 of Dan Benoit. Row 3, the 47 of Nate Esseltine, and the mean green 86 machine of Tyson Drown. In row 4, and here are the heavy hitters, fans. The 8 of Jason Leo, the 29 of Mark Lamberton. Shotgun row to the two guys tied for the points lead here. The 77 of Eric Williams and the 37 of Eldred Hutchins. Looks like we have one more lap before we go into green, Rob. And, well, this is what it all boils down to. Here are the big names so far early on in the season. Top 4 guys starting at the back of the pack, but you know, one guy you may kind of figure has this one in the back could be that 51 of Mark Eddy out of Champlain. He is a tough car. Black flag. That is the reason we've had a delay here. It's Danny Benoit who gets the black. Don't know the reason for that, Rob.
Well, they were working pretty heavily on the 74 before the start of the races here this evening, and perhaps putting something down on the track, and they send the 74 into the pits.
Well, the first two qualifiers were won by the 49 of Mike Bushy and the 0 of Mark Barnier, which knew with Barnier. Who's going to win this one? We'll all know in 8 laps. I still think that 51 of Eddie could be a surprise, though, starting on the pole. Down to 9. They're getting set to get under action. The last qualifier for this division. Final 3 transfer to their semi a little later. Eddie gets the jump on Bob Woods. And there's a little bit of heavy-duty leaning behind the leaders. Young and Drown just exchanging a wee bit of paint. Mark Lamberton shoots up the third group, and he's starting to make a big move in a hurry. Trouble, Esseltine into the side of Drown, takes the 86 around. Drown may have been slightly intimidated by Lamberton to his right, but I'm not sure if that had anything to do with it. Lamberton, I think, coincidentally got to the side the same time that Esseltine got a piece of Drown. Up front, it is Mark Eddy, followed by Jimmy Young, Mark Lamberton, Bob Woods. Caution on the speedway. Tyson Drown is still trying to get that car squared around. We'll bring it out of caution. Last week, the last couple of laps in the main event, Tyson Drown was running on a rim, Robbie, and I'll tell you what, that is pretty tough to do for any race car driver. Pretty impressive for someone who had just a little less experience than some of the big names.
Well, what was really impressive about the whole thing is that he was able to maintain track position and actually might have picked off a couple of spots in the 86. And he was, as you said last week, it was almost 4th of July early because he was trailing Sparks, especially while going into the turns.
One car who has reappeared, the 74 of Danny Benoit. Apparently that car has been deemed okay now, but he's going to start at the back of the pack, to say the least.
Steve Benoit last week was in the middle of that pretty dangerous wreck with Dave Wilcox. Wilcox especially suffering severe front-end damage. Why don't you update us as to the status of Wilcox?
Pretty difficult to do. He's not here. Dave Wilcox missing this week's competition. Tough break, that 44. We don't mention him a lot, but he has really had some strong runs, and he really got tagged heavy in the incident with Danny Benoit. They should be going green flag next time by, 1 down, and we'll set the field. Mark Eddy and Jimmy Young will take him to the stripe. They will be tailed by the 57 of Bob Woods and the 29 of Mark Lamberton. Then the 47 of Esseltine, the red 8 of Racing Jason Leo. Then it will be, these guys always run side by side, it seems, Hutchins and Williams. Last row, Drown and Benoit. I'll tell you what, Mark Lamberton has taken his time finding the hookup or setup in that car. He may have it tonight. Off the original green, dove 3 wide and really looks drawn down the backstretch. And Jimmy Young gets a good jump on 10th place Mark Eddy. Mark Eddy just couldn't quite keep up with Young. Young dirt tracking it a little bit, gets it all squared away. Behind him, Mark Lamberton moves to second. Hutchins and Williams running nose to tail in the middle of the pack, which new. But they are not quite used to seeing Lamberton running away from them. So.
credit to Jimmy Young, who did a good job in that car number 1. But Mark Eddy, really unfortunate victim, as he went around midway through the heat, sat on the inside of the track for a couple of laps, and that took him completely out of contention.
One reason I said that is because just as the accident occurred, I looked up, right beside of me, and there was very unkind things said about racing Jason. Maybe there was a little contact, Rob. I don't know, a few times.
I think you summed it up. Well, that means Steve Hayes will be busy, as a street stock heat will be coming up next on Motorsports Magazine. Heat number 2 for the street stocks on the Speedway. 6 laps to distance, and here's Steve Hayes.
Better drivers who have had a little more success early on in the season find some real big names near the back of the pack. Up front, however, the 99 of Andrew Carey, the 72 of Kurt LaGrave, in row 2, the 61 of Ralph Doss Jr., and the 66 of Corey Trombley. But out back, some names is that amazing 77 of Rick Frenier and Sean Fountain. Back out, the 72 of front. Ralph he has been drifting high in the turn and does not seem to have quite as much out of the turns. Might just be the handling on the automobile. Here comes Rick Frenier, fans. He waited a couple of laps before he shifted it in gear. Now he's up to 5th, and he is on a move in a hurry, Rob. It is the 61 right. Rick Frenier has with that 77, but whatever it is, I wouldn't change a thing. That car is amazingly quick. Let's remember, a couple of weeks ago, that car nailed the front stretch wall. This year, looking for the lead. Gets to the inside of Doss. No contest there. Doss lets him have position. What he failed to see is the 77 of Frenier coming right up behind him. White flag, and Frenier to the inside. No surprise there. A Sean Fowl comes in contact with a couple of automobiles on the backstretch. And we've got 3 or 4 cars that torn each other up here in the last half lap. But as they come out of 4 for the checker, give it to Frenier. But because of the incident in the last lap, takes 4th. And Rob, what is that 77 machine? It is truly amazing.
Well, Steve, it is clearly the dominating car on the track. The 91 sits parked on the infield. And again, we didn't have the camera on it. We were up at the front of the pack. Why don't you just recap what happened on that incident?
Well, I can't give you yet a couple of numbers, but Sean Fountain came off of 2. He was in traffic, got in contact with someone, squared him around in front of the field. A couple of other cars got involved. I know the 23 machine got a piece of them. So it was 3 or 4 cars involved in the incident. Couldn't tell what precipitated it. But what it all boils down to, picking up yet another checker, the 77 machine of Rick Frenier, and he would probably be the favorite once again in the main event, Rob.
Heat number 1 for the late model sportsman on the Speedway. Got a good field of cars here this evening. On the pole in this first heat is Danny Bridges, outside the 79 of Galen Wood. Tim Pateka inside row 2, Tony Poisson on the outside. Then it's Ron Lamell in the 11, and outside it's Dennis Karen in the 43. Dwayne Lanphier and Beaver Dragon driving the 6. And a late arrival at the Speedway was Norm Gay in the 50, who has made repairs to that car. And we're all happy to see Norm back here at Airborne. Down to the stripe, 3 wide at the stripe as Pateka moved underneath the 9 of Danny Bridges, and Galen Wood in the 79 shoots to the front. Ron Lamell with a move underneath Bridges for the 3rd spot. What a move by Pateka at the stripe to get the 2nd spot. Chief starter Butch Henry with the black flag in hand. Let's see who that waves for this time by. For the 83 of Pateka. Apparently, they believe Pateka jumping the start, so Pateka gets the black flag. Galen Wood out at the front. 2nd, Ron Lamell. 3rd, Dennis Karen. And how about that 43, who usually runs pretty well here? Danny Bridges looks to move underneath for the 3rd spot. Karen was a little bit loose that time out of turn 2, and Danny Bridges powers underneath to take 3rd. Complete in this first late model sportsman heat. It's Galen Wood at the front. Ron Lamell is 2nd. Danny Bridges runs 3rd. Beaver Dragon looks to move underneath Dennis Karen for 4th. Right now it's Karen 4th, Dragon 5th. Dwayne Lanphier 6th. Back to the front. Still Galen Wood. Danny Bridges looks high to the outside of Lamell. That allows Dennis Karen to move underneath Bridges for 3rd. Now Beaver Dragon puts the nose of that car 6th. Underneath Danny Bridges. Bridges tries to fight back on the outside line. Still side-by-side battle. This is for 3rd, maybe 3 wide? No. Beaver Dragon backs out of that situation. Good job of keeping that car down on the inside. Now a challenge for 2nd. No, Dennis Karen thought about going to the inside of Ron Lamell. Beaver Dragon looks to challenge for 3rd on the outside. 2 to go for Galen Wood. This has been a good first heat. Lamell a little bit high, but shuts the door again on Karen for 2nd. Beaver Dragon getting it done on the outside. Dragon looks to move into 2nd on the outside. White flag for Galen Wood. Dragon into 2nd. Can he pick off the top spot? Dragon on the outside. Wood on the inside as they head into 3. Lamell looks to move back underneath for 2nd. They come out of 4 down to the stripe. The winner is Galen Wood. Beaver Dragon 2nd. 3rd to Ron Lamell. Dennis Karen 4th. And 5th to the 9 of Danny Bridges. But I'll tell you, Steve Hayes, if Beaver Dragon can keep that car on the outside and make it run as quick as he just did in the 100-lap main event, he will be one to watch come feature time.
No doubt about it. And let's remember, Beaver Dragon will be probably the only driver in that field who is used to 100 laps. He runs that Airbus every weekend. So endurance and stamina will not be a problem for the driver of the 6th. Great run for Galen Wood. Galen, who used to drive dirt modifieds here, but before that, fans may forget, he ran the asphalt, and he had a lot of success with the asphalt, so it's no surprise he'll pick up a checker, but pretty strong field to wire, Rob.
Well, I'll tell you what's impressive about the fact is that Wood has only been running, now what, 3-4 weeks here at Airborne, and didn't take him long to get the handle on that car, and he has been running strong the last couple of weeks.
I believe this is the 4th. The first 2 weeks had all sorts of handling trouble. Last week, that car came to life, and he just simply had everything dialed in. I don't know about the 100 laps. I don't know if the car will hang together, if the handling will stay with them. But he is certainly going to be fun to watch in the semi-feature, Rob.
All right, a good win for Galen Wood in late model sportsman, heat number 1. Heat number 2 for the late model sportsman, it's Robin Wood and Glenn Wright in row 1. Row 2, Bucko Branham and Doug Hoare. Row 3, Joe Thomas and Brian Hoare. Row 4, Billy Fountain and Tom Tiller. And then Greg Lyman, shotgun on the field. 9 cars in this second late model sportsman heat. The winner of heat number 1 was Galen Wood. Heat number 1 was very exciting. Let's see if heat number 2 can match up. Side by side, heading out of 2, it's Robin Wood on the inside. Glenn Wright on the outside. Row 2, it's Branham and Doug Hoare. Then Joe Thomas and Brian Hoare. Still, everybody side by side. Look like they've just thrown the green flag. Side-by-side racing for the first 6 spots on the track. And it's Robin Wood in the 61. Glenn Wright looks to move on the outside into 3. Right, a little bit high out of 4, and it's still Robin Wood at the front. But it can't get much tighter racing action than this, as now Wood looks to pull away on the inside, and Bucko Branham looks to make a move to the inside for second of Glenn Wright. But Wright battles back on the outside of turn 3. Down the front stretch, the leader still Robin Wood. Glenn Wright is second. Bucko Branham runs third. Doug Hoare runs fourth. Joe Thomas fifth. Side by side, it looks like we're just starting the race. It's been this way the whole heat. Every time it looks like Robin Wood is going to clear the 48, and it looks like now he finally has. The 48 had managed to battle back every time, but now Bucko Branham clearly into second, but now again, Glenn Wright battles back. Wright a little bit loose that time. Might have had some contact there on the 48. And everybody moves underneath. At the front, it's Robin Wood. Bucko Branham is second. Joe Thomas now third. Billy Fountain runs fourth. Right now, the 04 of Greg Lyman. First time here at Airborne this season. Doug Hoare back to 6th. Billy Fountain. Oh, look out. Joe Thomas is loose. Billy Fountain making a move on the outside. He's up to 3rd. Greg Lyman moving underneath Doug Hoare for 4th. And what do you know, back at the front, it is still a family affair, much like last week for a lot of the late model sportsman feature. Robin Wood at the front, 2 to go. Bucko Branham is second. Billy Fountain runs third. Side by side for 4th. Greg Lyman on the inside and Doug Hoare on the outside. Now down the backstretch. Bucko Branham looks to make a move to the outside of his nephew, Robin Wood. Billy Fountain looks to move underneath for second. And Branham sets the door on that move. White flag is out. The white is out. Robin Wood in the lead. Again, Branham looks to the outside in the 63. Side by side into 3. Billy Fountain looks to move underneath as well. Bucko Branham drifts high down to the stripe. It's Robin Wood. Steve Hayes, I'll ask you, who do you call for second?
I thought Billy nipped Bucko at the wire. I thought he got it by about 6 or 7 inches. It was that close. I was standing right parallel to the line. It looked like the 91.
Comes home 6th, 5th, Brian Hoare, Greg Lyman 4th, great run. 3rd to Bucko Branham, 2nd to Bill Fountain, and the winner, the 61 of Robin Wood. Couple of stories in that heat, Steve Hayes. Number 1, the continuing emergence of this car, the 61 of Robin Wood.
Yeah, Robin, a rookie in this division. First couple of races, Ron Weston was by far the leading rookie. Robin Wood is serving notice big time. Ron will be the next qualifier.
Second story, the 04 of Greg Lyman in his first appearance running against some outstanding competition, manages to pull away a 4th place position.
In a car that has no sponsorship on its side, maybe they didn't have time to put it on. Car very strong, but I have another story. Doug Hort, Ryan Hort, not even close to being competitive. They're going to have to do some work on the 45 and 46 cars.
All right, winner of late model sportsman heat number 2, the 61 of Robin Wood. Flying Tiger semi-feature, and here's Steve Hayes with a call.
10 laps, 9 competitors. Front row, the 49 of Mike Bushy, the 53 of Gary Wood. In row 2, the 18 of Brad Duquette, and that pesky yellow 0 of Mark Barnier trying to make it 5 in a row. At least 5 victories in a row, that is. Third row, Sawyer, Young, 4th row, Williams, and Hutchins. Shotgun to the 07 of perhaps Jeff Plunkett. We still don't know. Bushy, your leader. If you don't know what I mean by Plunkett, he was injured last week. Here in attendance, but not driving, supposedly. Bushy is your leader. Brad Duquette runs second. Gary Wood, 3 right out of 4. Forced to lift just a little bit. But he's outside of Williams and Barnier. That's not the position. Now he gets in front of Barnier. Good piece of driving as Mark lifted. Gary took advantage, but now loses the position back. Mike Bushy is your leader. Brad Duquette giving chase. Behind Duquette, Sawyer and Williams. Again, Gary Wood drifting high out of 4. Mark Barnier in his qualifier that he won, front right, or I should say left front tire smoke, and he showed it again. Tight brakes, or he's really hitting them hard going in. I don't know which. Of course, if you win, don't change a thing, right? Bushy starting to pull away from Duquette, Sawyer, Williams, Barnier, and the 37 of Hutchins. Once again, the 77 and the 37, Williams and Hutchins respectively, were tied for the points lead going in tonight. Their object, just finish in front of each other. Now with everyone battling for positions 2 through 6, the 49 machine is pulling away in the semi-feature. Hutchins getting into the side of Barnier. They exchange a little sheet metal. Hutchins comes out best of all in that battle. Battle for second, Duquette and Williams, and Duquette is not giving an inch to the co-leader. Halfway for Bush, he's had it all his own way so far. Brad Duquette is on the inside in the battle for second. Eric Williams, the only guy to win more than one main event so far, to his right, and now starting to go past him. But remember, Duquette on the inside, Williams does not have the advantage of tucking in. And Duquette, leaning a little bit, knows that he has got to get some sort of momentum coming out of the turn. Behind these two is Elder Hutchins. Hutchins looking for a groove to race it. Duquette drifts up, gets a piece of Williams. Elder says, thank you very much, take second, and here comes Barnier. It would appear that and Williams drives in the back end of Duquette, not appreciative of the fact. Williams did not like what happened to him up in 2, and Duquette took him high. Mark Barnier's streak of 4 consecutive races, 1 in a row, I believe is about to come to an end. Mike Bushy with about a 15-car length lead over Hutchins. Great battle for third. Williams to the inside of Barnier. Barnier left the door open now with 2 to go. And he is going to have to fight to get in front of that Lemoyle Ambulance 77. Probably got a shot of the smoke that time. Big smoke out of the brake area. And I would imagine if it is brake smoke, that's going to wear out eventually. 1 to go, this time by for Bushy. A big lead over Hutchins. Bushy's advantage is the Edwin battle behind him. That allowed him to pull away. They're starting to reel him in, but they have run out of time. As he comes out of 4, mild upset here in this semi-feature. Picking up the checker flag, the 49 of Mike Bushy. Second to Hutchins. Third to Williams, and what happened to Barnier? He finishes 4th, but he came out of 4th and was very slow. Either he just simply slowed down, or he had a problem on the last turn, Rob. Don't know which. But earlier in the event, we saw Duquette and Williams battling for second. Brad drifted high, took Williams with them. And as they went into 3, retaliation as Williams right hard in the back end of the 18.
I think the 0 just was slowing it down, Steve. I don't think any problems with Mark Barnier's vehicle. But Mike Bushy, who is, as we said after the heat, which Bushy picked up the checkered flag in, Mike Bushy has been a driver who has had great success here at Airborne before, and to this point of the season has not really been a big factor, but it looks like tonight he's got everything together, and he's now in line for a Triple Crown.
Well, think about Mike Bushy. Like I say, he had the advantage of everyone battling in back of him for position. That allowed him to pull away a little bit. When they finally did get single file behind him, they simply ran out of laps to catch him. So everything worked the right way for Mike Bushy that time. As Mike, who was actually 22nd in points going in, that tells you how bad his season has been, hoping to turn things around tonight.
The winner of the Flying Tiger semi-feature, the 49 of Mike Bushy. More action coming up next on Motorsports Magazine. Feature time for the street stocks, 15 laps the distance, and Steve Hayes is set with the call.
It is not my night. Tried to get the name of that 85 machine. Sounded like Collins is the last name. Went to check on the official sheet, and it's not marked. We're going to call it Collins and hope I figure it out before the end of this. The 85 starts at the pole. The other grayish-silver automobile, the 21 of Joe Bouye, outside pole. And Bouye in his heat that he won, smoking heavily, already smoking. Pulls to the outside, green flag. Bouye simply gave up. Knew that his car was not acting well. He's got all kinds of problems. Tough break for Joe Bouye in the 21 machine. Up front, here comes Tony Brassard in the 7. Trouble out of 2. Leo Dugan got sideways. Hardly, a hard tag by Kurt LaGrave straightened him up. And so far, everybody is keeping the automobile straight as Bouye retires the 21. They go 4 right out of 4. Let's set the field with 1 down. The 71 of Brassard, your leader, followed by Farnsworth. Then the 85, then Ken Misick, Dave Perrin. Hang on. Position change quite readily. His cars are all over the place. Terry Gunnup with a 60 goes off the track, gathers it up, brings it back on, stays in 4th. Ken Misick forced a lift in the Richard Petty closes to 43. Trouble on the 81. He loses an engine or sub. He's got fluid all over the track, got into it himself. And take a look at several of the cars found it as well. 82 of Ebersol, the 2 of Dugan, the 4 of Chris. Several cars got into it after the 81 lost an engine or at least some sort of hose. Some fluid on his own tires, and then the other automobiles in the racing group also found it, Robbie.
Well, this could be fun. Maybe some of the cars going through, they've all slowed down enough to not spin out down there, but this is going to take a while to clean up. As you can see, the fluid leaking out of the 81 car, and doesn't look like he's into. Oh, also up front, a flat tire on the left front for the 81.
Well, that may have been from spinning after he lost the 81 car driven by Bob Wells. Not having a good night here as he lost an engine or something. He's leaking fluid all over the place.
All right, we'll take a break. We're in the middle of the Street Stock feature from Airborne. You're watching Motorsports Magazine. Two laps complete in the Street Stock feature. Steve Hayes, we have everything sorted out. And why don't you get us going once again?
2 down. It is Brassard and Farnsworth to set him on the way. Hey, got the name of the 85, people. James Collins. Ooh, I'm glad I figured that out before the end of this. Collins with the 85 says inside row 2. He is completing the row with the 60 at Terry Gunnup. 1 machine, actually 2 machines not answering the call. One guy who was here never came out for qualifying, damaged the car in practice. The 0-1 to Keith Nolan, who was 16th in points. Brassard with a jump to rewide into 1. Another automobile who had trouble in his qualifier, never came out for the main event. Sean Fountain. Second race Sean has missed early on this year. Car starting to sort out. Brassard, your leader. Terry, oh my, Gunnup runs second, but behind him, Perrin takes Collins around, and a lot of cars taking a base of action, including Farnsworth, points leader Rick Freyer, who is coming back on the track, laying up the smoke screen. Everybody squares it away. Brassard, and now Rick Freyer has a ton of work to do. Trouble up at 2. The 60 to Chris, the 29 to Brian Pugh doing the do-si-do. Dave Perrin retiring the 37 as the front end is smashed up. His crew will have to get to work on that in a hurry as there is no caution out. One car that went a lap down also had problems. The 82 of Roy Ebersol. Want to take a chance to congratulate Roy. Earlier today, he got married. How do you explain to your wife that on your honeymoon night, you're going to go racing? Oh, well. Brassard, the leader. 60 of Terry Gunnup runs second, trying to catch him. Then about half a straightaway back to the third place car, which is a good battle between Corey Traboli and the 23 of Joe Becker. Right now negotiating the lap automobile of Ebersol and having trouble in doing so. Fifth belongs to the white 18 of Hank Hutchins. Trouble on the Collins machine, and James Collins loses an engine or some with the 85 fluid on the inside groove, and this is not going to be good. Chief Starter motion pull up guys as they are going right through the fluid. A couple of cars found it the hard way for the second time in this main event, Rob. On the straightaway, a car loses an engine. First it was Wells, and now the mysterious 85 of Collins, and it's a shame. I just found out who was driving it.
Some of the cars still finding out that indeed there is something down on the speedway, and again, this is going to be a lengthy caution as they're going to have to take some good precautions to make sure that they run in this fluid and put down the speedy dry to take care of it. 4 laps complete in the street stock feature, and Steve, Rick Frenier, point leader, was involved in the first incident after that restart. And then there was another one up in turn 2, and actually 3 or 4 cars have been retired to the pits.
Yeah, we've had a lot of action, and earlier in the qualifier, we made the comment these guys ran a nice, smooth race. We kind of figured when the main event rolled around, they'd get to banging each other a little bit, and there's been a lot of contact. Only 4 laps down. A whole lot of race left for the Mini Maniacs tonight. Now, their main event was pushed up quite a bit. They usually run the last event of the evening with the 100 lapper. They push it up to very early in the program. And I just wondered if maybe that confused some of these guys. They're not used to running their main event this early, Rob.
Okay, we'll take a break. You're watching Motorsports Magazine from Airborne with 4 laps complete in the street stock feature.
Becker, your top 4. Good distance back to the battle for 5th between Hutchins and Gibbs with 5 to go. Broussard way wide out of 4. Apparently trying an entirely different line whatsoever. Diamond patterning the track. That means you go wide in the front and back stretch and turn left quickly and low in the turns. He's trying the old diamond pattern. Problem is Broussard is well aware of it and not letting him have the inside groove. You're going to have to develop another sort of style here. Going to give it another shot. The whole idea here is right about now you turn to the left and try to get underneath the car. Your momentum carries you past them. The only thing that usually prevents that is when the guy knows you're doing it and blocks the inside groove. And this is tough break for Broussard. He gets shoved behind a slower automobile. The 09 almost took the lead from Broussard. Still might as Freyig has the momentum out of 4. And we have more problems at 3. An engine goes in 3. The leaders don't know it. Broussard and Freyig are going to find out the hard way. There's a yellow light frantically flashing. They both catch it now and slow down. The problem was the 4 machine lost an engine in 3. You can see a strip of fluid from on top of the stand. A couple other cars spun out, but that is the 3rd engine so far, Robbie, that has been expired in this main event.
Steve, you think the 71 can hold off the 77 car? Boy, it's interesting. Frenier is working that outside line, and Broussard is working the inside line, a complete contrast in styles. And so far, Broussard's been able to hold them off.
Well, I made comment about a driving style called diamond patterning. Let me explain it real quick. It means you come out of the turn, drift high on the front stretch and back stretch. You literally ride against the wall of the outside edge, and then as you go into the turn, you quickly turn to the left. You dive under the car. Your momentum will carry you past them. But as I said, the one way to prevent that from happening to you is to drive the inside groove, and that's just what Broussard's doing.
You see on pit road, the Flying Tiger feature is lined up next. A sneak peek at, maybe you can see where your favorite drivers might be starting in the Flying Tiger feature. With 11 laps complete and 4 to go in this street stock feature, they'll realign the field and we'll come back to Motorsports Magazine. Can Tony Broussard hold off Rick Frenier? That is the question that will be answered. Steve Hayes.
Mineville's New York. Tony Broussard set to do battle with Peru, New York's Rick Frenier. Behind him, the 60 of Gunnup and the 23 of Becker. Third row, the 18 of Hutchins, the 92 of Gibbs. But you probably figure the leader will come from the front row with 4 to go. Frenier has momentum going into 1, but he does not have the line, and he almost let a car get under him. Broussard drifts high. That's not the move he wanted. That will allow Frenier to take the lead. Broussard did not want to drift high there. That took all his momentum away, and you see the result. We have a new leader trying for his 3rd victory in 6 races. Coming out of 4, Gibbs in between Hutchins and Becker, and that could have been catastrophic indeed. All 3 cars got a piece of it, but no problem. They're still doing the same thing through 2. Gibbs will not back off. Doesn't have to. He's going to get them both going into 3. Now Hutchins catches up to him. On the outside, Becker's going to lose it. That's what I figured. Becker couldn't do a whole lot about it. He had to continue his momentum. Could not do it with 2 to go, and Becker smokes the tires, and a good finish goes out the window for Joe Becker. Frenier got the lead, but you know what? He hasn't pulled away, fans. Of course, he doesn't have to. He can win by an inch or a mile. It's the same in the record books. Frenier, your leader. He will get the white flag this time by. It looks like Frenier's race, but these are the street stocks. Don't count on it. Good battle for 3rd. The 60 of Grunup and the 92 of Dan Gibbs. Dan Gibbs set to take 3rd. Slower automobile, the outside groove up in 3. Grunup dives right back under Gibbs. Loses traction, gets a piece of Gibbs. Gibbs continues. Here they come. Frenier wins it. Broussard 2nd, Gibbs 3rd, followed by Brian Pugh, Kurt LaGrave. Tough break for Hank Hutchins, though. He got a part of that before, which wasn't really his fault. Dan Gibbs, a daring move, will end up 3rd, but as I said earlier, the guy he needed to beat, the guy who was ahead of him in the points, won it again, Rob. Rick Frenier, 3 wins in 6 starts. I think we could start calling this guy dominant.
Well, that was a crazy last lap as there were cars spinning all over the place. Matter of fact, we didn't even see Rick Frenier come down to take the checkers. There were so many cars spinning between turns 3 and 4 that's where the camera was. Wanted to see if anything happened out of those spins. But as it turned out, Rick Frenier, as you said, becoming the dominant car.
And want to mention a good run for 71 Tony Broussard. Tony's not going to pull in line. Terry Grunup pulled alongside Dan Gibbs, had a couple of words for Mr. Gibbs. They were the 2 cars that got together big time in 3 on that last lap, and Grunup did not get a good finish. The 92 of Gibbs finishes 2nd. Also, good run for Brian Pugh. We didn't mention him a lot. He finishes 4th. Kurt LaGrave up to 5th. And, boy, Danny Gibbs had it all his own way as his car is pushed off the starting line. Look under it. A lot of fluid from the 92. I guess he may have taken 3rd, but I don't know how much was left in that car, Rob.
The winner, car 77, Rick Frenier. The question will now be, does anyone have anything for this guy in the 77? What do you think, Steve?
Tough to say. The first 3 weeks, Frenier decided to let someone else have victory lane, but the last 3 have all been 77. That's Rick Frenier is, well, pretty tough to beat, let's say. He'll try for 4 next week, but I think some of these guys are catching on to him, and tough call to say whether or not he'll be able to continue this streak, because I got a feeling they may have his number now.
Well, that camera shake all of a sudden was Steve Hayes kicking the tripod. And thanks, Steve. The camera hit me right in the nose. All right, that'll wrap up the street stock action for this evening. The Flying Tigers are taking the track, and we will have action from their feature coming up next on MotorSports Magazine. lap feature set to take the green for the Flying Tigers. They've been one of the most entertaining divisions here. Steve Hayes.
Starting on the pole, the 76 of Mike Wells. Starting outside row 1. This guy has had a good night already. The 49 of Mike Bushy. Row 2, the 81 of Mike Knapp. The 53 of Gary Wood. Row 3, the 73 of Scott Dufresne. And the 18 of Brad Duquette. Plus a few more. 26 cars set to do battle for 20 laps. Bushy out to the early lead, but drifts about. Trouble, naps it in the side of Wood. Gary Wood started up front, and you're going to see a problem here. Everybody scattered to avoid him. Mike Nass gets involved, as does Wild Bill Sawyer, Brad Duquette, Mark Lamberton involved, Brian Bushy, Sparky LePan, and a quick caution, Rob, and It could have been a lot worse for Gary Wood, who started in the second row, came in contact with a rookie in the 81, Mike Nass, spun in front of virtually the entire field, and didn't get a whole lot of damage for his efforts.
Well, Steve, we will have to have a complete restart, and I think a lot of the other cars who were involved will get their spots back. But the 53 of Gary Wood appears to have major problems, and it doesn't look like it'll be likely that they'll be able to get that car fixed.
Tough break for Gary. He looked pretty good earlier on. That team has had a couple of good runs, but always seem to have some racing misfortune. The racing gremlins not being generous lately. Another car not moving, the 29 of Lamberton, my guess, simply waiting for his position in line to open. I do not think there's a major problem on Lamberton's car.
Well, this is going to be a lengthy caution, and we will use that to take a break. And remind you that you're watching racing action from Airborne International Raceway on MotorSports Magazine. Rob Knowles along with Steve Hayes. Stay with us, folks. More local racing action coming up. We're set for a complete restart in the Flying Tiger feature. Steve Hayes with the call.
Mike Wells and Mike Bushy. Pair of Mikes. Set to set him on the way. Row 2, Scott Dufresne, Brad Duquette. In row 3, Wild Bill Sawyer to the inside, and looks like Toby Ebersol to the outside. Yes, it is. Couldn't tell at first. His number was kind of obscured, but it is 82. Green flag comes out again. Bushy gets the jump on Wells, going into 1. Bushy's only problem here. She's got to tuck it down. And again, behind the leaders, a big bumper banging going on. It is Bushy, Wells, Duquette, Dufresne, and Sawyer, your top 5, but that will probably change. They combine to complete the official first lap. Everybody has their cars heading straight. We'll get 1 in the books with 19 to go. And surprise, surprise, side by side in the middle of the pack, Williams and Hutchins. Battle for second, Duquette getting past Wells, but everybody kind of watching the middle of the pack because there's some names running nose to tail like Leo, Williams, Hutchins, Barnier, Dennis. One car slipped back a couple of positions on the restart. It was a 29 of Lamberton. Curley sitting right behind Hutchins. Not a bad place to be. Ebersol with trouble. His car split him left and right. He got passed by about a half a dozen going down the backstretch. The 82 not up to full power. Right now in the midst of Hutchins and Dennis, they both get past him. Up front, Bushy starting to pull away from Brad Duquette. Bill Sawyer runs third. The top 3 have pulled away, and they're also separated from each other. Running fourth right now, a good battle between a couple of guys who haven't posted impressive wins yet, Wells and Dufresne. Dufresne comes out in front of Wells, makes it work as they are 4 right out of 4 because of the slower automobile of Moon Miller. Miller off power to the inside groove, hoping to find a way to get to the pits. 3 wide action out of 2. Young backs off. Meanwhile, just behind him, Lamberton drives off the track, and he gets it back together. Tight bunch coming out of 4, and some big names involved in them. If anyone makes a mistake here, there'll be several guys who will pay for it. Lamberton is running the inside groove now, and whoa, Hutchins got sideways, but he got it straightened out. One car who is broken loose is Eric Williams, another one, Mark Barnier. Williams and Barnier are flying through the pack. Jason, the 8 of Leo, he's also starting to make his move up. Dufresne gets loose, gets a piece of Leo. Leo keeps it straight. Dufresne loses it, and we got a collision. Mark Lamberton ran into Dufresne as Tyson Drown was on his other side. So left and right side damage to the 29 machine. Tough break, Lamberton third in points. He has been struggling with the car all year. He had a strong car early on, but oh, this is not what he needed at all, as Lamberton not moving the 29 up in 2, Rob.
Steve Hayes, we talked about Mike Bushy so far quite a bit on the program, and he is moving very well at the front of the pack. And we just might have another Triple Crown winner in this for the second straight week.
No offense to Bushy, but I don't think so. Why? Because on the restart, starting inside row 3 will be that 77 machine, and with 7 down and 13 to go, Williams has more than enough time. However, Barnier is right near Williams, so let's not count the 0 out.
Steve, During that last break, we found out something very interesting in regards to the street stock feature. Why don't you tell us about it?
It's almost ironic. Before tonight's action, I was talking to Robbie saying, do they still have that $500 claimer in the street stock division? Last year it was a situation, if you have $500, you could claim a street stock automobile. Wasn't sure. Talked to one of the leading Tiger drivers. They're the one who asked me, and I didn't know. Well, you remember the 77 of Freyre picked up the win? He did win the race. And someone claimed the automobile for $500. The driver has the option of refusing the claim, thus he would take himself out of contention for that night. I'm pretty sure they lose all points of money for the night. I don't think it goes farther than 1 week. Freyre refused the claim, so our winner tonight was the 71 of Tony Broussard, who had a very good car. But Rick Freyre, whose car was claimed, refused the claim, and that's why he is not the winner in tonight's main event, Rob.
Now, we're not sure, fact of the matter, whether or not it is something that carries over to next week, but we do know that is what occurred this week. So we can speculate about the future, but we do know this week, as you explained it, that's what occurred.
I will not say if it goes any further than this week, because I really do not know. As I said earlier before the show, before racing started, I was questioned by one of the Tiger drivers, and I wasn't sure, so I asked Robbie, and he wasn't sure, and it's not a situation we've really had occur a lot. I don't know how many fans know. These guys in the street stock divisions run for a whopping $50 to win. If you finish fifth, you get $5. So, I mean, it is not a money division by any means.
All right. With 6 laps complete, they've turned the scoreboard back a lap. 6 laps complete in this Flying Tiger feature. They will reset the field.
This might just be Mike Bushey's night. Eric Williams has not caught him. He's closing the gap, but he hasn't caught him yet. Battle for third, Sawyer and Barnier. Duquette still running fifth. I think Brad would be happy with the fifth. Williams now starting to catch him. 4 to go, and Williams has about 7 car lengths to make up. Battle for third, Sawyer, Barnier. Barnier to the inside, has position, gives him a little tap, and that actually forces Barnier to lift. That will allow Duquette to catch up to Barnier a bit. Oh, the lead has shrunk big time now. 3 to go, make it 5 car lengths. Coming out of 4 that time, Barnier got into the side of Sawyer, turned him around, but Sawyer fought back. Now Barnier gets to the outside. 39-0 are definitely shades of sheet metal here. Up front, lap traffic about to come into play. Can Bushey negotiate it, or will Williams get him in lap traffic? Bushey dirt tracks it. 2 to go. Williams right out of the back bumper of the leader. Eric tried for his 3rd win of the season. Of course, we thought Rick Freyre won his 3rd, but it was not to be. Here comes the lap traffic, and we have a lap and a half to go. This does not bode well for Bushey if he gets stuck behind someone slower. White flag. Oh, it could be a blessing in disguise for Mike Bushey. Down to the inside of the 07. Plunkett's car, which is either driven by Jeff Plunkett or Rion, we don't know yet. And Bushey may have this one, fans. Williams is stuck behind Wells. He's not going to get him. For the 2nd week in a row, the elusive Triple Crown goes to a driver in Airborne. Last week it was Barnier. He'll be 3rd tonight. Mike Bushey wins it over Williams. Barnier, 4th to Sawyer, 5th to Brad Duquette. And Robbie, I'll be honest, I did not think that Mike Bushey will be able to hold off Eric Williams, but he did very well. Williams caught him, but he couldn't pass him.
Well, I think you'll agree that with 7 laps to go, I said, look out for the 49. I think he's in line for the Triple Crown, and boy, he managed to keep the car out in the front and didn't win on that last lap. Did a masterful job at passing the lap traffic, which was right in front of him.
Well, Robbie called that one definitely, because he definitely said Bushey probably had it in him. Triple Crown for the 2nd week in a row. Last week it was Barnier. This time it goes to the 49 of Bushey, and he's a pretty happy fella, I assure you. Williams 2nd. He'll take over the points lead from Eldred Hutchins, who did not get as good a finish as he was hoping for. He was in traffic most of the race. Good 5th place finish, though, for Brad Duquette. We don't mention Brad a lot, but he's been coming to life the last couple of weeks, and he got well rewarded tonight.
Sure did. Eldred Hutchins, you mentioned, he had trouble getting around the 51 car of Mark Eddy. He tried to pass Mark on the outside a couple of times, and Eldred just went backwards as cars continued to move underneath him whenever he tried to do that. And what, he ended up probably about 7th, right around there?
He was back there somewhere. I did not actually look to where he finished, so I cannot tell you. But he's someplace in the bottom half of the top 10. Mentioned earlier, Bushy was 22nd in points coming in tonight. Of course, the Triple Crown will catapult you up a few positions, Rob.
How about Mark Barnier? Where was he coming into tonight, Steve?
Well, coming in tonight, Mark Barnier, who had been, let me see, he had, I think, missed a week or something. He was 14th in points. He was 5 behind Bill Sawyer, who also had a good run. But Barnier's definitely coming to life. Told you earlier, a couple of the Flying Tiger guys said that if Barnier's car runs as well as it did last week, he might be the guy to beat. You know what? He might be the guy to beat.
There's Mark Barnier. He ends up 3rd. 2nd to Eric Williams. Eric Williams will most likely take over the point lead. And the winner this evening, the driver of car number 49, Mike Bushy. There's Mike. So the Flying Tiger feature is in the books. Stay tuned to Motorsports Magazine. More action coming up from the late models. Set for the 100-lap main event for the late model sportsman, Norm Gay and Danny Bridges, row 1. Galen Wood and Tim Pathinka, row 2. Ron Lamell and Tony Poisson, row 3. Robin Wood and Glenn Wright, row 4. Row 5, Bucko Branham and Doug Hoare. Then it's Joe Thomas and Brian Hoare. Billy Fountain inside of row 7. On the outside is Scott Carpenter. We'll get the rest of the field when we can. They come out of 4, down to the stripe. The green is out. A great field of cars for this 100-lap feature. And they're flying down the backstretch. Norm Gay talked to Norm in the pits before this race started, and he said, boy, wish we could have got here a little bit earlier to get some track time. We do not know what to expect with this car. Said they started to work on it at the beginning of the week after last week's incident, and it's been until they've been working every night till 2 o'clock in the morning on the car, and they finished it this evening at 6:30. Norm said they left Champlain at 6:30 and they made it here at the track about 7:05. And right now he's running out in front. There's point leader Steve Rennedet. He started well back in the pack. And Beaver Dragon driving the 6 car. Trouble! Brian Hoare involved. Glenn Wright involved. Tony Poisson. Bucko Branham in the 63. Brian Hoare actually went over the top of Glenn Wright. Branham gets moving with damage to the right front. Looks like he might have a tire rubbing on that right front tire. He'll probably take it on pit road. You'll notice that the pits are occupied on the front stretch, and the cars will be using the pits during this 100-lap main event. The yellow caution flag laps will count, Steve Hayes. Bucko Branham's going to take it onto pit road as he is pulling the 63 up on a pace car. You see him passing a bunch of cars heading into turn 3. And for Branham, I think it's going to be some body work by the pit crew.
No major problem. It looked like the car's heading straight. They'll just pull it away, maybe change that right front, but as you said, caution laps count except for the final 5. Last 5 must be run under green flag conditions. So, unlike the Indy 500, nobody's going to win one under yellow here tonight.
Steve, I looked into turn 3 and 4, and one of the things that I saw was Brian Hoare in car 45 almost taking that right front right off on the Glenn Wright 48 car.
Well, it all happened when Glenn Wright got together with another automobile. I believe it may have been the Patinka 83, but I'm not sure. But Brian Hoare came up on this situation, could have backed off, but there was an opening, went for it. Problem is, when Glenn Wright had contact with the first car, bounced in front of Brian Hoare, and those 2 cars came in contact pretty heavy. You saw the result. Also involved the Branham 63. Tough break for Tony Points on the 42. He just ran right the back end of Brian. And a couple other cars got involved as well, Rob.
Bucko Branham on pit road, Glenn Wright on pit road. The access road to the pits was blocked and Branham goes through the stop sign on pit road. He must have thought that he was about to lose a lap. Bucko was blocked heading into the pits because the access road had Tony Poisson on it.
Well, let's explain what happened. Glenn Wright did not come in the access road. He kind of dove beyond it. Bucko Branham, he said the access road was blocked. They opened the pits, however. Hey, Bucko saw an open pit sign. He dove in and found out it was blocked. They're going to stop and pull him over. And you got to wonder, I mean, Bucko saw the open pit sign, went in the pits, but it was blocked for him. But like you said, he simply went through to avoid going a lap down, and he would have.
Well, they will bring the 63 back in. 6 laps complete as these cautions count. This time by, there'll be 7 complete. And as Bucko Branham pulls his car into the pits for what should be some routine body work, Steve Hayes, we need to take a break. 7 laps complete in this late model sportsman feature. We're set for a restart with 8 complete. Norm Gay, Danny Bridges, row 1. Row 2, it's Galen Wood in the 79. Outside of Galen Wood is Ron Lamell. Then it's Doug Hoare and Tim Patinka. Row 4, Robin Wood, Scott Carpenter. Then Ron Weston and Billy Fountain. They're in row 5. They're the top 10 cars with 8 down. They come down out of 4 to the green. Field very quick down the backstretch. Cars are really moving tonight. Front, it's Norm Gay. Danny Bridges is second. Third is Doug Hoare in the 46. Galen Wood fourth. Scott Carpenter fifth. Ron Lamell is sixth. Seventh is Robin Wood. Eighth is Bill Fountain. Ninth is Dave Whitcomb. 10th, Gene Paul Sear. 11th is Ron Weston. Back to 12. It is Tim Patinka. 13th, Brian Hoare. For not having much track time in this 50, Norm Gay's moving pretty darn well. Out in front of the field. Mark Lanphier, who's driving his brother's car, that's Mark Lanphier in the 40, spins it, and he comes out right in front of the leaders. Wood loose down the front stretch. Lanphier threw some dirt up on the track. The yellow is out. Yellow is out. Steve Hayes, cars all over the place. Beaver Dragon off the track. Joe Thomas off the track. Chaos. What's going on?
Here's a situation where the guys at the back of the pack weren't looking far enough in front of them. They went into the turn. Doug Hoare went way wide. There was some fluid or something on the track, and the guys who should have seen him go high all ran the same group. They hit the same thing, and a bunch of cars scattered.
So it looks like someone is putting something down on the track.
No doubt about it. It's in about the second groove. Doug was running a little high, and he drifted way up, and I had a feeling something was there the way he slid, and these guys came in the same groove, so there was definitely something down on the track. And it might be, I'm guessing here, might be from the Branham machine. Remember, he got tangled. He's looking to come in the pits right now. He may have ruptured something in the 63.
"17 laps complete in the late model sportsman feature. Bucko Branham bringing the car onto pit road, as is Gary Caron in the 22. We'll watch the pit crews go to work as they head down pit road on the front stretch. First of all, we'll pick up Karen's crew as they have a lot of work to do on the front of that car, a lot of sheet metal damage.
Tell you what, Norm Gay would like to get about 60 or 65 laps of caution. As long as they're running under yellow, he can stay in front.
Also working on the 63 of Bucko Branham. Frantically going to work in the 63 pit.
Don't know if you had a chance to mention it, Rob, but one car we saw in the pits at intermission is the guy second in points in last week's feature winner, Pete Fecto. He had something happen early in the car and was loaded when we walked through an intermission, so very tough break to be second in points and sending out this 100.
Beaver Dragon on pit road, he was off the track between turns 1 and 2, and he brings the car 6 in. They're going to look under the hood of that number 6 car. Bucko Branham is back on the track after making repairs. He joins at the rear. Gary Karen is out in plenty of time. He also joins at the rear of the field. As it stands now, there are 19 laps complete in this feature. Beaver revs the engine in that 6, and he is headed back out onto the track. He'll also join at the end of the field.
Gary Karen came on pit entrance, gunned it, and turned it around, and there was no reason for it. He was not going to lose a lap unless there's something major on that car, in which case he'd lose a couple anyway.
Well,
no need for it. He just spun it right out.
We'll go back to green flag racing this time. Norm Gay the leader. Second, Danny Bridges. Third is Doug Hoare. Fourth, Galen Wood in the 79. Scott Carpenter 5th. Billy Fountain 6th. Robin Wood 7th. Ron LaMille 8th. 9th is Ron Weston. 10th is Dave Whitcomb in the 25. 11th, the 32 of Gene Paul Sear. 12th, Brian Hoare. 13th, Tony Andrews. 14th, Tim Patinka. 15th, Dennis Karen. Red Mead 16th, Brent Dragon 17th, Tom Tiller 18th, Steve Rennett at 19th. At 20th is Greg Lyman. Green is out. Wayne Lanfear is a lap down. Rather, Mark Lanfear in his brother's car. He is a lap down. Norm Gay on the inside. Lanfear working to get a lap back. Joe Thomas also a lap down, stuck on the outside, headed backwards. Doug Hoare appears to be very quick this evening in the 46. Side-by-side battle, Robin Wood and Ron Weston. That for 5th. Meanwhile, also side-by-side. Doug Hoare looks to the outside of Danny Bridges for 2nd. And that allows Scott Carpenter to move underneath for the 3rd spot. Now Hoare battles back on the outside. He's in 2nd. And he looks to make a move around Norm Gay down the backstretch. Norm Gay on the inside. Doug Hoare on the outside. Side by side. They come down to the stripe. Norm Gay still by the barest of margins. 27 laps complete. Gay on the inside. Doug Hoare on the outside. Doug Hoare a little bit loose off of 2. Danny Bridges looks underneath. Scott Carpenter thinks about 3 wide, then backs off. Let's watch that 50 car going into turn 1. You got to wonder what Doug Hoare running on the outside is doing to the tires on that Dodge Intrepid. He's driving the car very hard. Norm Gay leads it. Danny Bridges is second. He's right on the back bumper. Third is Scott Carpenter. Fourth is Doug Hoare. Fifth is Robin Wood. .70 laps complete in this 100-lap main event. Carpenter leads it. Bill Fountain is second. Third, Gene Paul Sear. Back to fourth and Robin Wood. Fifth, Steve Rennet at sixth. Dave Wickham. Seventh is Brian Hoare. Eighth is Brent Dragon. Ninth is Beaver Dragon, and 10th is Doug Hoare. Back to the front. Throw a blanket on them. There's still 1, 2, 3. Major pileup on the front stretch. Beaver Dragon involved. Hard contact in the front stretch wall. Doug Hoare also involved. Gary Caron involved in the 22. Steve Hayes, you see what happened?
Not in the least. I happened to see the yellow light flashing, and that was my first clue. Right now, the ambulance being called out. The guy in question is the 6th of Beaver Dragon, and of course, we are hoping the best for that longtime racing veteran. Beaver scheduled to race tomorrow, the Unity Raceway with the Tour. And you can tell, I didn't see, but you just look, you know, heavy-duty contact. Now, here's the situation, Rob. You have to wonder what goes through Brent's mind. Beaver's son driving out, sees the ambulance pull up to the scene where his father just had a hard collision, and this has to really bother Brent. Red flag conditions, this is not a good sign. Beaver, longtime competitor with the Tour, hoping to drive tomorrow. And right now, some concern is the condition of Beaver, as he has had several hard shots in his racing career, but definitely this is probably one of the ones he's going to remember for a long time, Robbie.
Oh, he's climbing out, Steve.
That is a great sign. Getting a round of applause. I would not be surprised if he got a pretty good check over wherever. He got his bell rung, that's for sure. And of course, Brent, I'm sure, has got his neck stretched. Brent, the front of the pack somewhere, I believe.
Hard contact. We were following the leaders at the time. Beaver Dragon was running 9th. Also involved in the incident, Gary Caron, who was a lap down, and Gary Caron's car, the right front, totally destroyed.
I can tell you Beaver's hurting. He's limping pretty heavily out there, getting a little assistance to the infield. So he'll get looked at, but he's walking. That's the main thing. Beav's a pretty tough old guy, and I'm pretty sure he'll be competing tomorrow at Unity.
There he is, one of the greatest drivers to ever run here at Airborne. Milton, Vermont's Harmon Beaver Dragon. Walking to the infield, that's a good sign. But I'm afraid the 6 car is quite a bit worse for wear. Red flag conditions on lap 74. 74 laps complete in the late model sportsman feature. And when we come back, we'll set the field for you, and we are set for what should be a very interesting finish. Again, apologies. We were filming at the front and didn't see what happened. Steve Hayes was following the leaders up in front as well. And
my first clue was a flashing yellow light. I didn't know it didn't happen until then.
Not sure exactly what precipitated the whole incident, but good to see that all the drivers appear to be fine. And we'll take a break with 74 laps complete. All right, we're set for a restart. in this late model sportsman 100 lap main event. 79 laps will be complete, this time by the stripe. Scott Carpenter and Bill Fountain, row 1. Row 2, Gene Paul Sear, Robin Wood. Row 3, Steve Renette, Dave Whitcomb. Running 7th right now is Brian Hoare. Brent Dragon is 8th. Lonnie Lacklade pulls the car into the pits. What will happen here with 21 laps to go, 79 in the book? Carpenter, Fountain on the restart. They come out of 4, down to the stripe. The green is out. Contact between Carpenter and Fountain out of 2. And Gene Paul Sear looks to move underneath. Trouble on the front stretch. You can't see it through all this smoke, but up against the wall, the 66 of Joe Thomas. Red Mead also involved. With 82 laps complete, the caution is out. And Steve, did you see what happened on that one?
No, I didn't see it again. I was watching the lead pack. I looked, and Mead and Thomas were joined together going into the turn 1 area, so they had heavy-duty contact. Little surprising, though. The leaders had not received the caution, but they slowed up. I thought maybe someone had jumped to the front. Tell you what, if I was Billy Fountain, I may have let Jean-Paul Sear by me, because then on the restart, I'll be behind the leader. Sure, he wants to think of that. I can't blame him, but it may not have been a bad idea to give up a position there.
82 laps complete, and again, this is going to be a lengthy delay. And for Scott Carpenter, what more can you ask? I mean, you want as many yellow flag laps now, just fewer laps that you have to run full out, holding off the likes of Bill Fountain and Gene Paul Sear.
Like I said earlier, when Norm Gay was in front, he loved to have had a whole bunch of caution flags. Norm ended up going back because he started the outside on a restart. He drifted way back, about 10 positions in a lap and a half. But we know the last 5 must be run under green. That'll give anyone with a serious challenge enough opportunity, but again, this outside groove is not good at all.
Carpenter, the leader.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, that's all right. I was just going to say, Billy's going to have to try it again.
Carpenter leads it. Fountain is 2nd. Gene Paul Sear 3rd. 4th, Robin Wood. 5th, Steve Renette. Those 5 positions are the same. Brian Hoare picked up a spot. He's up to 6th. Dave Whitcomb 7th. And 8th is Danny Bridges. 9th, Brent Dragon. Galen Wood a lap down, is that correct?
If he went a lap down, it was very early in the contest. For the last 50 laps or so, he had been running right in this area. So if he had not a lap down, Galen will try to duplicate his top 10 finish of last week.
84 laps are now complete, and when we come back, I imagine we'll only have about 12 laps to go in this feature.
Yeah, it would have been a good place for another red, I agree. Not because of any serious injury, just so they stopped the lap counter.
All right, we're set for a restart. 86 laps complete in this late model sportsman feature. We'll see if Billy Fountain has anything in that 91 that can give Scott Carpenter fits. Side by side, into 4, and down the front. Green is out. Sear looks to move underneath Fountain for 2nd. Fountain tries to fight back on the outside. They come in contact. Renette into 3rd. Fountain cuts down in front of Dave Whitcomb. Fountain now stuck on the outside. he cuts it down on Dave Whitcomb. At the front, it's still Scott Carpenter. Gene Sear is second. Third, Steve Renadette. Fountain fourth, Whitcomb fifth, Brian Hoare sixth. Laps complete. Carpenter drifts high. Sear looks underneath down the front stretch. Side by side battle. No, look out. G. Paul Sear. Into the infield. Yellow is out. The yellow is out. And Steve Hayes banging between Scott Carpenter and Gene Paul Sear.
And this call, I don't know if I agree with. Scott Carpenter is being sent to the back of the pack. All during the last 20 laps or so, John Paul Sear has become attached to the back bumper of Scott Carpenter. Scott was the leader, Sear was pounding him big time. But right now, they are going to kick Scott Carpenter to the back of the pack. And Rob, I'll ask you, do you understand this call?
Ooh. Well, there they pull over the 36, and Fountain is now the leader.
Well, I'll tell you what, I had someone tell me that it always seems that I'm talking about New York drivers. Well, a lot of times because most of our fans are on the New York side, our show is not in Vermont. We'd like to be. I'll be honest here. Billy Fountain should not be the leader right now. Scott Carpenter does not deserve to be put to the back of the pack.
All right, let's set the leaders for you with 6 laps to go. Fountain leads it. Renadette is second. Dave Whitcomb third. Brian Hoare is fourth. Robin Wood is fifth. Sixth is Danny Bridges. Oh, boy. What a change that was.
And Robin...
Oh, Renadette the leader. Renadette the leader. They changed it. Oh, and contact.
He's going to hit the pace. Oh, he almost hit the pace car. They got it. Oh, I'll let you explain it because this is a mess.
Yellow is out. Yellow is out.
This is turning into a big mess, Rob.
Oh, my.
Now, Rob, correct me if I'm wrong. The race did not restart. Therefore, does Billy Fountain go to the back? He
Well, this will be
this
interesting.
caution, but the race had never officially restarted. Explain this call to me.
And the pace car coming out of the pits almost got loose and drove right into Brian Hoare.
You know, the first 90 laps were pretty good. Some incidents. These last 5 are a mess. They've had 2 decisions here. I do not understand. First of all, why is Steve Renadette still up there?
Well, let's see how they reset the field. They're moving the 91 back up to the front. Wait a minute. They're posting a restart lineup. Restart lineup has not yet been posted. Fountain moves back to the front. Officials are out on the track.
Well, I looked at the board when they got ready to start. They had the 76 in the front spot. I thought Billy was leading at the time. I thought he was third with across the line with the Carpenter Jean-Paul Sear incident. They had Renadette as the leader. The question here is, did the race officially restart? I don't think so, so I don't think any changes in position should occur. But they have not posted a lineup yet. And certainly the 45 is not leading.
All right, well, while they work on the restart lineup, we'll take a break with 5 laps remaining. All right, we're set for a restart with 5 laps to go. Billy Fountain on the inside, Steve Renadette on the outside of row 1. Dave Whitcomb sits third inside row 2. And on the outside, running fourth, is Brian Hoare. Fifth, Robin Wood in the 61. Sixth, Danny Bridges in the 9. 7th is Brent Dragon. 8th is Ron Weston. 9th is Ron Lamel. Lights stay on the pace car. There's apparently still a problem with the order. Steve Hayes, any predictions as to what's going to happen here?
I can tell you real quick what's going to happen. Fountain and Renadette, both known to exchange a little sheet metal, will probably lean on each other. Behind that, Wickham will be a little racy. Brian Hoare will probably try to go 3 wide, though I don't think he'd be that foolish, although he was earlier. Robin Wood will probably tuck in behind Wickham. Danny Bridges will let it haul. There's your top 6. And who's going to win? Don't ask me.
That was diplomatic. Took you a long time to say. Why don't you just say, I don't know?
I don't know.
Oh, no, wait a second. What do we... Okay. Those two go by. Still problems with the lineup. While we have this break, Steve, why don't you tell us what's coming up next week here at Airborne?
Regular show for our 3 weekly divisions, our stocks, Tigers, and late models. And of course, I guess in about 3 weeks, Late Model Sportsman, their second regional event here. That will be a 100-lap contest. And, well, Chief Starter Butch Henry tried to get him in line. They were not doing what he said. He threw his flags up in disgust. And, well, no one on the backstretch correcting the problem. The first couple of rows are fine. I'm pretty sure about that. I think it's about the middle of the pack some of the guys arguing about positions. Once again, 5 to go. Last 5 must be run under green. So it could take a while, but we're going to get this thing settled out soon. And, you know, the winner may not come from that first row.
Next week, special night, Plattsburgh Air Force Base night here, and special discounts.
Forgot about that.
95 laps complete. This time they will restart.
We hope.
Who's it going to be? The 91, Bill Fountain, the 76, Steve Renadette, Dave Whitcomb, Essex Junction's Pride, and the 25. We got Colchester, Vermont's Brian Hoare in that 45. Good cars up to the front. It's about to shake down here with 5 laps to go in this late model sportsman 100-lap main event. 95 laps complete. The last 5, of course, must be green flag laps. Billy Fountain with a huge start. A huge start for Fountain out of 4. Green is out. Renadette tucks it down. Brian Hoare looks to the outside. Gene Paul Sears loose down in the grass. Brian Hoare looks to the outside for 3rd of Dave Whitcomb. Billy Fountain the leader, 4 to go. I still think that 45 is the fastest car on the track. Bridges moves underneath for 3rd, but he just has not been able to get onto Billy Fountain's rear end. With this time by, there'll be 3 to go for Fountain. Danny Bridges has had a great race. He runs 4th. Renadette is 2nd. Brian Hoare is 3rd. He is right on that rear end of the 76. This time by, 2 to go. Fountain is running away. This is the battle for 2nd. White flag for Bill Fountain. Down the backstretch. Fountain with a 3 car length lead. He comes down out of turn 4. Sees the checkers wave, and he's the winner. Steve Renadette 2nd. Brian Hoare 3rd. Danny Bridges 4th. Dave Whitcomb 5th. And the winner of this late model sportsman 100, Steve Hayes, the 91 of Billy Fountain.
Truly ironic. Earlier in the pits we're talking to Billy, and I said, you know, part of that penalty you got that first week was you had to pay a $1,000 fine. Why don't you go out and win it back tonight? Didn't know if he'd be able to do it, but I guess he's even so far, we could say.
Fountain the winner in the 91. 2nd to Steve Renadette, the point leader. That's going to help him out tremendously.
Big time. Especially with 2nd place points guy Pete Facto not in the show.
And a good run for Brian Hoare, who brings it home third. Remember, Hoare was in an early race altercation, and he had to come from well back in the pack.
Well, that's the advantage. If you're going to have trouble, have it early and give yourself plenty of time to work your way back up.
And he worked his way back to third, but could never really get in a position to challenge the 91 of race winner Bill Fountain.
One guy in the infield very happy is Bill's son, Sean. Sean is standing in victory lane and ready to congratulate his dad on the biggest win of the season so far for that team.
There's the 91 of Bill Fountain pulling into victory lane. Always a little bit controversial here at Airborne, is loud applause for Bill, and once in a while they get a few boo birds as well.
Well, Bill kind of feeds on that a little bit. He's gotten used to it in his career. I don't think that's going to bother him.
All right, there's the third place finisher, Brian Hoare, driver of car 45. Second place, man, we interviewed earlier this evening, Steve Rennedet. And the winner, right there, the 91 of Bill Fountain. Steve, closing comments for this evening.
Well, going in tonight, I picked three guys who I thought would be strong. Branham, Sear, and Dragon. They all had difficulties and kind of overlooked Mr. Fountain, but maybe this is a pretty good sign as we have that regional coming up, and yeah, Billy may be a guy to beat then. He's got the right setup apparently, but it wasn't easy, but he was a guy in victory lane when it was all said and done.
All right, we hope you have enjoyed tonight's racing action from Airborne on MotorSports Magazine, and we invite you to join us once again next week. And as always, we look forward to seeing you at Airborne each and every week. This Saturday, June 11th, the regular card of racing. The best.